Okay, so now we'll see an example to send objects of user-defined classes across this stream mode or connection-oriented sockets. So for that, I have a class called employee data, which is defined, which is there in both the server and client directories, and it has member variables like the employee ID and name and salary, and you have set and get functions for them. So now the important thing is we should note that I have this implements serializable. So the reason to have this is because you want to send this object across a socket. So you want to kind of serialize all those information of the object into bits eventually and send it out. So that's why we have to implement this interface called serializable, and in order to do that you have to also import java.io package. Okay, so now let's start the server program. It accepts the port number at which the server will be running as input from the user, and then you open the server socket on the port number and make the server to wait for that port, wait on that port for an incoming client request, and then you call the accept method on the server socket object, and it's a blocking call. So until a client connects to the server is going to wait on this line. So once say a client connects to the server and now in this example we will have the client to send the object information, and the server is going to just read that object and print out its contents. So we'll prepare the server to read an object from the socket. So to read an object from the socket you have to use the object input stream. We'll call the get input stream method on the socket object, this data socket, and then pass it as an argument for the object input stream constructor. So OIS is the name of the object I have given for the object input stream. Then I call the read object method on the object input stream object, and it reads an object of class object. So we have to typecast it to employee data, and I call the object name as edata, and then I just print out its contents using get id, get name, get salary, all the get functions. And then I can close the socket because I'm done with handling this particular client. It has sent its information, the object information. I close the socket, and also this simple server program is designed to handle only one client, so I can even close the server socket. Okay, now the client program, I'm going to input the IP address of the server and the port number which is running, and then create the socket of the for this client to contact the server by passing the IP address and port number as the arguments, and then and then create an object of class employee data. So I call this as emp data, and I'm going to input the values for those three member variables from the user. So I use scanner for that. So I ask the user to enter the employee ID, and you get it using the nextInt method on the input scanner object. And then this input dot next line, it's a dummy line. Basically, once you enter the ID, you will press enter typically, right? So we capture that enter stroke using the next line. And then I print the message telling enter employee name, and I'll wait for the employee to for user to enter the name. And the next line method lets you to read more than one word as for the employee name, and then again you press enter. Then it'll ask you to enter the employee salary. You enter the salary and press enter, and then you call the set methods to set all the member variables values, and then you want to now send out the object. So we call the object output stream, use the object output stream class. So we call the get output stream method on the socket object. Client socket is an object of class this socket. So then pass it as argument to the object output stream constructor. So OOS is the name of the object of the class object output stream, and then you call the write object method on this object output stream object, and then you pass employee data as your argument, and then you flush it out so that the object can now be sent from the client side to the server, and then you close the socket. So at the server side, that's the time when you send the object this read object method will be unblocked and will be reading that object and storing it as e-data and printing its contents. So let's see how it all runs. So let me compile this first. So let me compile my employee data first. Okay, now let me compile my connection client object first. Let me compile my employee data first. This is the server side. Okay, so now let's run the server. The server is named connection server and the main function, so I have to just name connection server, and then just a port number. The client is going to take two arguments, the local host, the IP address, and the port number. I'll enter employee ID, something like that, and say my name, then salary, something like that, so you can see all of this received and printed. Okay. Alright, let me stop here.